All right, welcome everybody. So this is the Branding for SMEs Masterclass, and we have Francis Okuti. I hope I got that correctly. I've never had to pronounce your surname before.
Uh, uh,
And
I know. You
yes,
tried.
the head of marketing and comms at Pepnops LLC, and he's a consummate branding professional, right? Like when you see someone else's onions, he knows his onions and his suya. So just get out your notes, sit back, whether you're live on this class or you're listening to the recording, and yeah, get ready to learn, right? So you can be jotting down questions, which if we're not able to take on this call, you can always ask on the group, and um, yeah, you'll have answers to your questions on the group because Francis is also on the Mospo group. So if maybe you have any questions after this, you can just drop it and tag me, and I'll make sure your questions are answered. So with that being said, over to you, Francis. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Please, I want to be sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So thank you very much, Tolani, and thank you to the entire Mosbull. I will just pray I pronounced that correctly. Mosbull Management for having me. Thank you very much. Like Tolani said, my name is Francis Okite, as you can see on the slide. Over half a decade of experience in branding and communications. We've done 100 projects executed. I'm currently head of marketing and comms at PepNob, CEO and strategy lead at the Reading Agency, brand strategies at Definite Frontier, and a host of other ones, both past and present. So I'll be looking at branding for branding for SMEs, and I like to call this, I caption everything, this thing called brand in the light of building a brand that has an edge over competition. You see, excuse me, why did I call it this thing called brand? If you notice, the word brand is more like the most used word in the entire entrepreneurial system right now, especially in Nigeria. You know, everybody's talking about brand, my brand this, brand that. But then again, what is this thing? This thing called brand. What is it? I'm streamlining it to the subject matter of today, which is building a brand that gives you an edge over competition. How do you even do that? Well, let's first of all define what is this thing called brand. So the objective of today is to look at, first of all, what is a brand? Let's get clear. Let's be clear on the definition of brand, because brand is a fluff. What I mean by that is it has different sides, it has different facets. It has absolute truths and it has relative truths, right? If you bring an absolute understanding of branding and apply it to relative one, then you may not get the best result out of it. So we're going to be looking at what is a brand, this thing called brand, and then we're going to be looking at the building process. If we say we are building a brand, what is this process called? And the process of building a brand is called branding. It's not far-fetched, right? So then we're going to be looking at the 3 C's factors to consider, factors to consider, as well as the tenets of having an edge. Now, if you take note, you see, I didn't say how to have an edge. No, because like I said, branding is wide. Brand is like, it's a vast area. So if I tell you how to have an edge, the strategy that will probably work for a CPG brand, for an FMCG brand, may not produce much results for probably a SaaS brand. What I mean by service as a, right? May not yield much results for a service ranging business. So that's why instead of telling you how to, I best want to give us the tenets, the principles, the things the tools to empower you, irrespective of your kind of business, your industry. These tools work anywhere, right? So that's then we have the conclusion at the end. So get straight into business. This thing called brand, what is it? What is it actually? And so the first is, a brand is just another word for reputation. It's just another word for reputation. You know, there are quite a lot of definitions about brand. You know, so Martin Newman said, a brand is not what you say it is what the customer says it is. There are other definitions that tell you a brand is that. But while all of those definitions are correct, this is the definition. This is the definition we'll be working with for the sake of this section, right? So a brand is just another, at the fundamental, at the basic level, right? A brand is just another word for reputation. In other words, your brand is what you stand for or what you are known for. So let's do, I think there are some persons on the call. Let's do a quick, a quick test. I want to believe everyone is seeing my screen. Can you see the person on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Can you see the person here? Okay, so I want to believe everybody knows this guy, Jackie Chan, right?
Jackie Chan.
Yeah, Jackie Chan. So what is that one thing? At least I want somebody to answer this as fast as possible. We don't have enough time. What is that one thing that comes to mind? What came to your mind when you saw the picture Jackie Chan? Right? I will need somebody to answer.
Kung Fu.
Is okay? That's fine. Kung Fu. Okay, what other thing again? Which other person? Any other person?
Movies like acting.
Okay. So why you're correct. And another aspect I also want us to look at is you discover that Jackie Chan is the guy that makes comedy action movies. Like you literally cannot watch Jackie Chan. Most of his movies are not laugh. You get so it's more of like the comedy action guy, right? So but let's this next guy. If you don't know this guy, can you see my screen? Can you see the person here being displayed?
Yes.
Jackie Chan, right? I said Jackie Chan, Jet Li. So
Jet Li.
if you like, yeah, Jet Li. So if you are a movie lover, you know that Jet Li is that guy. One of his action, one of the things that you know Jet Li with is film trick. Is the guy that can stand on a pole and then he's fighting with him and whatever the antagonist or the what you call bulls now. Two of them, they can fight on just a thread. You get so it's mostly known for film trick, a lot of film trick and stuff, right? But then again, let's establish some facts. You see, if we say a brand is just another word for reputation, I would also need to let us know that you see, brands don't exist in isolation. What I mean by that is, but they are underpinned by associations. So what that means is your reputation is anchored on something. That when you see, when you see Jet Li, Jackie Chan, the pictures I showed you guys, their reputation is anchored on something. Somebody mentioned movies, right? That's an association. Somebody mentioned, I think I've forgotten the first option. So it's anchored on something. It doesn't exist in isolation. Where I'm going with that is now, if you look at the pictures here, we don't have enough time. Pictures here, you have a picture of Lagbaja, we have a picture of Papa basically. So if you when you see these pictures, when you see Lagbaja, when you hear the word Lagbaja, the first thing that comes to mind is, that guy that likes wearing masks, yeah, wears masks, a musician, right? And then when you hear Papa Jasko, that guy that likes to do jiggy and stuff like so. All of these things, what you know of them, what you know about them, is anchored on something, right? Is anchored on something. We're going somewhere, trying to set foundations for us to build on. So brands are built on values, but they are strengthened by experience. So you want to create a brand, you want to build a brand for your business. You already know that business is not the brand, right? Basically. So brands are built on values, but they are strengthened by experience. In other words, one of the things if my perception of Tolani is strengthened as I communicate with her, is strengthened on the basis of the experience that I have with her. So let's take, for example, I remember the first time we met in church when she came for one of our conventions and stuff like that. I was like, okay, no. The first I actually heard of Tolani was when D she said something. I think there was a flyer I needed to like design for one of your crypto masterclass like that. And then there was something he mentioned, and I was like, oh, okay. So from there, from that point, my perception here, I started shaping my perception of Tolani. So when I met her in church, I was like, okay, right? So, and then we've not really had like much conversations together, but then again, of all the experiences, both online, from her posts, from everything, all of these experiences have a way of shaping and strengthening the perception and I have of her to get as a person. So brands are built on values. And let's look at values. When you say brands are built on values, what values, right? Values are of two types. The first is the values of, in terms of virtue, in terms of the belief system, right? The values, the first step, tier of values now are in the light of your belief system. What do I mean by that? They say culture, there's something, there's a definition of culture I like so much. It said culture is people like us do things like this. What is this thing like this? This thing like this are the values that binds us together. That values are your non-negotiables. That's more like core beliefs and stuff like that. So they are your non-negotiables as a person. However, the other tier type of value is what you have to bring to the table. What you have to bring to the table. In this context now, it has to do with what your business has to bring to the table of the market. What is that thing? And in the mind of the customer, value is the difference between cost and benefits. We'll see that shortly. So brands are built on values, but are strengthened by experience. And then a perfect example of that is OPay. I don't know if you're like me, if you're experienced, you go to a shop and then you tell the person, I don't have cash with me, I want to make transfer. And they're like, we don't have network. You're like, then you tell them, it's okay. We're like, oh, okay. Sharp. Just move on. So one of the things that the OP brand is anchored on, we're still in the light of brands are built on values, but they are underpinned by, they're built on values, but they are underpinned by, strengthened by experience, actually. So one of the experiences, one of the ways OP has strengthened their brand is through the experience of their product. Through the experience. And what's that experience is swiftness. So one of the associations of the OP brand is that is the first fintech brand you think of when it has to do with fast transactions, swift transactions. So you go to a shop, you want to get an item, and then you say like, madam, I hope you, and like, okay, fine. It has happened to me several times. So in the light of the point that brands are built on values, but they are strengthened by experience. So in other words, your brand does not exist in isolation. So you have to ask yourself, what is that thing I want to use to strengthen the experience of my brand? Because there is a particular perception you want the market to have of your business, right? There's a particular perception. How do you want to strengthen that perception? And this I said strengthened, but it's a continuous process. And it requires effort. Both failure and success are products of effort. So moving on, let's look at brands live in hearts and minds, not on shelves and counters. What I mean by that, there is this rampart. Some persons have the thesis that they mistake the product for the brand. The product, I need to do the design. The design has to make sense. The packaging. While all of that, they are all important. But then again, brands live in hearts and minds, not on shelves and counters. Your brand is not the product you put on your shelf. That is only it's more like the conduit through which you deliver your value. The product is only a means to an end. It's not the end itself per se. So one of the examples that I would like to share in terms of to buttress the point of brands live in hearts and minds, not on shelves and counters, is Milo. You may want to say, okay, they are not there again. You may want to say, okay, they fell off. That's okay. But let's give them, let's go back to their past glory. If you're seeing my screen right now, you are seeing this Milo, and you is somehow, if you remember some years back, there was this show, Milo, Milo, that's Milo show, right? It had a way of connecting with the younger generation. Then, I remember that time, I would always want to, I think it was a Saturday show actually. I always want to watch it, and then some of this stuff. But you see, that feeling that they were able to have in the minds and hearts of people as at then, they may not be there now, right? To you. So that feeling they were able to have was not a result of the product. However, the product can be a conduit through which your brand can be shaped. Like I said, they are underpinned by associations, right? They don't exist in isolation, but they're underpinned by associations. And the perfect example is the OP brand, right? So, but then again, do not mistake the product for the brand. They are two different things. So let's look at a few things. I'm trying to rush through. There are three areas of focus. We look at for branding in branding now. Three areas of focus. There's strategy, there's design, and there's management. Strategy, design, management. So let's look at, I did a strategy test. When you hear the word everywhere you go, there's a brand that comes to mind, MTN. When you hear grandmasters of data, Glow, Bank of the Free, which has to do with CUDA. Now, I'm not saying that because what I wrote here is strategy test, but I'm not saying that your tagline is your strategy. These are only examples of brands that their tagline were more like they emanated their strategy for their tagline was like a reminder of their strategy. Let me put it that way. So I was saying some time ago that actually in the beginning, MTN did not promise us fast network. What they promise us is that they will be everywhere. That is the reason why when you go to a place that is probably foreign to you in Nigeria, the first network you want to check that is available is what? Is MTN. So it's when there's MTN is not, you ask, oh, MTN network, no dear. You're like, okay, we'll check for Glo. So over time, they've been able to position themselves in the market as the brand that is everywhere. That was their primary positioning in the market. And they made that clear in their tagline. So that's why I'm bringing their tagline. It's not like their tagline is, it's not like tagline is, they only portrays, help you understand how they want to position in the market from their tagline. That's why I'm using tagline. So when you mention grandmasters of data, I don't know, in as much as other communication brands, Airtel and their likes, they are battling with Glo now. But Glo used to be the guys that had like, when you talk about data, in fact, I remember then they were the one that started this, 100 naira for 100 MB, 75 naira for 100 MB, like small money, big data, small money. But the problem has the issue, the challenge with them has always been that they are not everywhere. But when you find a place that has Glo network, you really will enjoy. So those guys also position themselves as the guy that, okay, the brand that once it has to do with data, we are the guys for you to choose. Don't forget, we are going somewhere with this. I may not be able to buttress much on that of the CUDA. May not be able to buttress, but I believe you understand where we're driving at with this at the moment. So let's look at design test. I may need your response at this point so that we can move on. If you check my screen here, you will see who can identify these brands. Who can, as fast as possible, please. We have quite a lot to cover. As fast as possible. Who can identify these brands?
GT, MTN, Sterling Bank, and Lush. I think that's Lush. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. So design test. Now, the logo wasn't there, but you were able to identify them. No logo, just with their color palettes, and then, the name of the brand is absent, but you're able to identify them just with the logo per se. So now, are we now saying that the logo is the brand? No, the logo is only a post reminder of the brand. So when you saw the logo, it reminded you of them. But so we stopped at the design test, right? So let's make some progress. So I was saying that your logo is not the brand, like you already know. The logo is only a post reminder of the brand, basically. So let's look at some brand segments. If you check my screen here, you see investors, suppliers, consumers, and employees. You see, when we talk about brand, there is this aspect of what does the customer want to think. There's a popular definition of brand that says it's not what the customer says, it's what the consumer says. But then again, we are only one focus on the consumer or the customer. We are only addressing one part of the entire facet of what brand is. There is what the employer needs to be. There's the perception of the employer, there's the perception of the investors, if you have, there's a perception of so what are the suppliers saying about you? And then it is in brand strategy that we tend to fish out all of these things. We get to decide. Strategy is choice, right? Strategy is trade-offs. It's where you get to make trade-offs, get to choose where you want to play, how you want to play, where you want to be seen, how you want to be seen. Strategy is where we do all of that. Strategy is the holistic approach behind how it should work, while design is the expression of how it works. So they all go together. So yes, it's not like strategy is more important than design or design is more important than the strategy. No, they work in partnership, not in hierarchy. They work best in partnership and not in hierarchy. So when we do brand strategy, most of the time, we tend to talk, okay, what kind of vibe, what do you want the employers to say? And your employees, your staffs, your teammates, what do you want? What's the kind of perception you want them to have of the company? And they're like, okay, a good place. No. Personally, I happen to have a boss, brand ID, that give me a real definition of what it means to actually have an employer branding, right? Everybody that worked at the organization where I worked some time last year, they will tell you that place is a place where, see, if you come in shy, you will leave there confidence. If you come in, timid, and then you leave there as though the world needs you. You have the confidence of like, oh, the world cannot do without me. That was how he integrated the employer brand. He had a very strong employee brand. So, and he controlled it in such a way that everybody was saying the same thing. Right. So what do you want the employees to have? What perception do you want them? Then your suppliers, what do you want your suppliers to say if your business has to do with suppliers, right? Do you pay on time? Do you deliver on time? All of those little things. Then for the employees, okay, is it a good place to work? Is it is it good? What's the pay like? What's the mood? What are the values? What's the culture there? You get, these are the things, like I said before, culture is people like us do things like this, right? So, and that things like this is the values. Values is what binds a culture. Value is the binding magnet of a culture. So these are the non-negotiables of the company. What kind of brand do you want to, what kind of perception do you want your investors to have? All of these things, the consumers, the customer. So it's a four-way thing. It's not just one customer. You get, what kind of perception do you, as the owner, want to have of the business? What do you want to? So you have to look at these different segments of the brand. Now let's look at the building process. The building process. So the process of shaping perception. If we say that a brand is just another word for reputation or perception, right? Branding is the process of shaping that perception. Some say it is the art and science of shaping perception. My boss, brand guy, will always say, branding is you shaping the gossip in places where you are not present. Branding is you shaping the gossip in places where you are not present. I'll be a little bit fast because we're behind time. You see, branding is less about looking good and sophisticated, but more about influencing how we want to be seen, perceived, and addressed. You see, when we talk about branding most of the time, people tend to think that, oh, it's about looking fine, it's about looking good. But actually, it's just about looking the way you want to address. There's a way the arm robber wants to be addressed. That's the arm robber. Please, who is that? Can you please mute your mic? Okay, so the guy that steals the arm robber or the kidnapper wants to have the perception of a fearful person. He wants you to see him abroad. That's why he dresses the way he dresses. right? It's not trying to look fine or sophisticated for you. You just want to achieve the desired perception. So the mad person also wants to achieve the desired perception. So all of these things, branding is really not about looking sophisticated. Sorry, I'm using very degrading examples, right? But I just want you to understand it at the basic levels, actually. So branding is less about looking sophisticated. It's less about making your logo fine. It's not about making your shop fine. It's not about making, everything, pimp and then excellent. It's more about the perception you want to influence. Don't forget, branding is a game of influence. It's more about the perception you want to influence, right? So branding is an inevitable happening. Well, I don't really have enough time to, talk about this. Branding is an inevitable happening. It's not some I see some places when they change their logo, they say, now I've started branding. No, branding had already started. In fact, the very moment you are seeing and you are heard, branding has started. Right. So branding is an inevitable happening. It's happening whether you are aware of it or not. So that's toward the end. And so if branding is an inevitable happening, then intentionality is the intrinsic technology that brings branding under control. Intentionality is the intrinsic technology that brings branding under control. So the reason why everybody has one particular perception of OP is that they are intentional about that particular thing. They are intentional about ensuring that everybody knows OP as the brand, as the fintech brand that is Swift, that churns out Swift transactions through their products, right? Intentionality is the intrinsic technology that brings branding under control. And then we look at the 3 C's factors to consider. The 3 C's factor has to be the consumer, the customer, the competition, right? So there is the corporate. The corporate is you, your business now. There is the competition that you want to have an edge over. And then there is the customer. You will see that the corporate and the competition, they are under, and the customer is up. The reason for that is because the company that has an edge with the customer is the one that plays to its strengths relative to competition. The reason why you see the corporate and the competition in one line, right, is because everybody is fighting for the favor of the customer. Every business is fighting for the favor of the customer. And then there's a definition, a thesis I have of brand strategy. I like to say that brand strategy is the holistic approach behind how a brand drives identification, builds connection, and gains favorability to the customers and its consumers. Brand strategy is the holistic approach behind how a brand drives identification, builds connection, and gains favorability and favor in the heart and minds of the customer. So the company that has an edge customer is the one that plays to its strength relative to competition. I'm taking note of that word relative because they are absolute strength, relative strength. What does that mean? It means that if Tolani can write and I can write, my strength is in writing. Tolani also has a strength in writing. That is not relative to competition. What is relative? That's no strength. She is good at it. I'm good at it. That's absolute strength. But what will make me have an edge over her as a competitor is that she can write, but she cannot design. I can write and I can design. So that design becomes a relative strength. My writing is an absolute strength, but my design is a relative strength to the competition because she can't, or she can probably maybe do it better, and she can't. So you have to take note of the relative strengths and absolute strengths. You get. So yeah, the company that has an edge with the customer is the one that plays the strengths relative. That was the main subject of today's talk, which is having an edge now. Your competitive edge resides in your relative strength.
Okay,
Your competitive edge resides in your relative strength. It's not in your absolute strength. They can do it, you can do it. Who cares? The customer draws near to the one that, have been able to position as the person that is. Please, I can hear somebody. Can you please mute your mic? Hello?
I've muted him.
Okay. It says that okay, just a minute. See, when you muted him, my slide, I can say quickly.
Check. I've made you
Get
the
it.
host again. You can check.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. I'm doing that now. Oh shit. How can I remove these? I think I shared the wrong stuff. Yeah. Okay. It's just a minute. Okay, so yeah. So our relative strength is your competitive edge resides in your relative strength. So it's not just enough to say, oh, we can do this. That thing that you can do so well, it may not be new, it may not actually be new. It may just be that you're now in branding, sometimes you don't even need to focus on being the best, you have to focus on being different, right? So because another context of branding is deliberate differentiation, right? So sometimes you're not even trying to be best, right? Just trying to be different, be not necessarily different. So you because check, can you really be best? Best.
I can't
It
really
is
hear you very
possible.
well.
It is. Sir.
I can't really hear you very well. You're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What was the last thing you read? Let's pick it up from there.
You're still breaking up.
Jesus Christ. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So the next thing is the battle of advantage is in finding more and higher percentage of favor with the customer. So that's why I said that the reason why the corporate and which is you and the competition were at the same line and then the customer was above in that diagram I shown you is that the battle of advantage is in finding more and higher percentage of favor with the customer. So in that light, now let's look at the tenets of having an edge. We're running out of time already. The tenets of having an edge. Now, you see, like I said initially in the beginning, that I don't want to tell us, oh, this is how to have an edge, right? This is how to have an edge. Number one, two, I don't want to bore us with too many theories. There are too many theories out there already that you can find online. So I don't want to bore us with too many theories. I just want us to get the tenets of what it means, the tools, more like empowering you with the tools so that you on your own can now work with those tools to create irrespective of your industry. So number one, I said having an edge starts with knowing. It's quite weird. How? Knowing what, right? It is my belief that the reason it is called knowledge is because knowing gives you an edge. And that knowledge is predicated on the function of knowing. However, in this context, what are the things that we need to know? Let's look at them. What are the things that we need to do? First of all, identity. Who are you as a business? You see, we have a lot of businesses that they are not clear on who they are. They are not clear. So if you're not clear on who you are, how can you now know the customer that is supposed to be attracted to that particular identity? Who are we? Who we are? We want to know who we are, our identity as a brand. What is our mission? What is our vision? What drives us? What is our culture? What are our values? And I talked about the 2 tiers of values, beliefs, virtues, and then that's of our services stuff. So haven't now okay, this is where we want to play. This is who we want to be to the market. We are a branding agency. We are a online whatever thing you want to do. Now, who do you want to serve? Who do you want? Who is your customer? You see, many people these days there's not so much clarity on the market. Everybody just wants to be everywhere. And you want to sell this, sell APC wants to buy broom, you sell to them. PDP wants to buy umbrella, you sell to them. There's no clarity on who is our customer per se. So now the third is what is being done already. That is the competition. Now we are going somewhere. What is being done? Everybody is doing it. I was having a conversation with somebody was proposing something to me, and I asked, what then? Why? What's the why? What's the why behind this thing? Because are we just another? Is it going to be just another one? So what is being done already? You need to know, first of all, when you now know your market, the market you want to go into, you now understand that, okay, who are the people that are serving these my people? Who are the people that are serving them? You have to understand the competition. Then now, having understand the market and then the competition, what can we do? What is your capability? What can you do? As a brand, what are the things? Oh, you want to go into the fintech industry. There are a lot of fintech brands. What is being done already? What is the need? What is the problem that you see? Who are the people that are solving these problems already? Now, how can we be different? Don't forget that branding is deliberate differentiation. How can we now what can I do? Now, when I move on to who and what we want to be seen and perceived as, this is what I want to talk about, the brand image. Take note, identity is different from image. Identity is who you are. Image is who we say you are, right? Brand image is how we see you. Brand identity is what reminds us of you. Brand identity now, inside of brand identity, now we now have visual identity. Visual identity is different from your brand identity. I don't have so much time to explain all of this stuff, right? So what identity, where do you want to play in the market, right? Customer, then you understand the competition, what is being done already, and then what can I do as a person? What can my business do? What's that different flavor we are bringing to the market? What can we do? And then who and what want to be perceived. That's where talk about brand image. And then lastly, we'll look at how we want to position. What is our competitive advantage? Now, take note, you understand the markets that you want to go into. You now know what is already being done as the competition now. Then you now look at your strengths and weaknesses, which is the capability now. It is within understanding these three things and then identity, then you now ask yourself, between what people are already doing and then what I can do, what is that thing that now gives me a competitive advantage? What is that thing that will now make me gain more favor with the customer? Don't forget that the game of advantage is in finding more and higher percentage of favor with the customer. Everything, you're just trying to gain favor and desirability with the customer, basically. So these are the things that you need to know: your identity, your customer, your competition. And knowing your competition is continuous because market changes. Market changes. In those 2020, we all saw that face masks was the of that year in terms of sales, right? And then in 2021, it's not like that anymore. So market is changing. You have to put your head down and understand, get updates. Number two, like I said, don't want to bore us with many theories. Number one, know the aforementioned stuff. Then number two, execution and timing is vital. Execution, because now you understand, you know your identity, you now know your positioning, how you want to position in the market, right? Positioning is the heart of strategy. That's one of the things that we establish in brand strategy. It's where you get, okay, this is how we want to play in the market. This is where we want to play. This is where we don't want to play. Okay, we want to go into the fintech brand, but in our fintech, okay, I like money. I've always been saying all the examples I've been giving are just fintech. Let me use another. So we want to go into the edutech brand, the edtech brand. And then, okay, which aspect, which people, is it for SMEs? Is it for, so you have to be sure of the market, right? And all of this stuff. Then number two, after knowing all of these things, what next is not to go gather again and accumulate another series of knowledge. Execution and timing is vital. Execution is key, because if knowing gives you an edge, then we need deliberate and consistent implementation to be ahead. Because I said that it is my belief that the reason it is called knowledge is because knowing gives you an edge. However, having an edge does not automatically put you ahead. Implementation is the bridge. Implementation is the bridge behind where you are, and is the bridge between your plans and the desired results. Implementation is the bridge between your plans, your strategy, everything, and the desired results. And we always say that if strategy is the heart, strategy now, positioning is the heart of strategy. If positioning is the blood of strategy, then execution is the heart that pumps it into reality. In strategy, if positioning is the blood of strategy, but execution is the heart that pumps it into reality. So we have to, when you know all of these things, this is not time to now, okay, I now know the market, I now know this, straight into execution. And why I said execution and timing is because market changes. Market changes. You have to be updated on your markets. What are the changes? What are the trends that are happening? These are the things that will constantly give you an edge over the market. Knowledge and execution. Know this, the aforementioned, the stuff that we talked about, and then execute. In conclusion, it's been a long. In conclusion, not paying attention to branding is more expensive than the monetary cost of it. Not paying attention to branding is more expensive than the monetary cost of it. And secondly, branding is only a scam for those that choose the ghost path. As far as you plan to be seen, heard, and paid, branding is inevitable. You know, I told us in the beginning that branding is inevitable. It happens whether you know it or not. Whether you are aware of it or not, it happens. It's an inevitable happening. But like we initially established, that intentionality is the intrinsic technology that brings it under control, right? And final notes. I'm very happy we're able to come to this, we're able to come to the end.
Thank you.
Everything in a business can be copied except the brand. Everything in a business can be copied except the brand. The feeling that unfolds at the thought of you, your unique approach to doing, connecting, and bringing value to the table. Our desired perception can only be achieved and controlled by an intentional awareness of the process of playing to our strength from a standpoint of authenticity. However, if we let this understanding guide our approach to work as in life, we will not only have an edge over competition, but also duplicate ourselves in the minds and hearts of the ones we serve as a business and also the people we come in contact with as a person. One thing is sure and certain, and that is we will win. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for having me, Tolani. Thank you for having me, Moscow. I'm very much honored to be here. Thank you.